Stonespine Architects is a competitive game, part of the role-player tale range, and it is set in a fantasy world in which we're going to create dungeons. We are dungeon architects, one of my favorite jobs that I would like to have if I lived in a fantasy world. The game is card drafting, tile laying, and tableau building. We're gonna have a dungeon. At the beginning it doesn't look like much, it's just a single piece of cardboard with a gate, the entrance that will go on it, on a space on top depending on the blueprint that I get at the beginning of the game, and these are gonna be assigned randomly. If I had this one, then I would place the entrance there on the third slots there. Then during the game I'm going to place 16 cards there. The game is 4 rounds. Each round you collect and place 4 cards, and you build it one story, one level at a time. So round 1 you'll place 4 cards there, round 2, round 3, round 4. And at the end you will place the exit, this other piece, where it belongs based on the blueprint. So once I have my 16 cards here, that will go right there, like so. But I don't need to worry about it right now because I still have to build the dungeon, let alone finish it. During the game you will collect points from a lot of different sources, so that is always or often unclear who is going to be in the lead. And as you can imagine, the blueprint is also needed because depending on how many features you match, for example, if I place a stone chamber there, if I place a trap there, depending on how many of those features on my blueprint I match, I will score the corresponding amount of points. But again, that is just one of the many sources of points. So, card drafting, as we were saying, that means we're gonna have a nice deck of cards representing different chambers with different paths, a lot of different features. You have to imagine each card as divided into 4 sectors. For example, this one, as all the other ones, has 4 sectors with a goblin there, empty, empty, kobold, and empty, null, gelatinous cube, ooze in this game, and empty. So I think you get the idea. Plus, of course, these other paths. Also, there are 2 kinds of chambers, a cave and stone, and then different effects connected to them, different scoring condition. For example, this blueprint calls for stone to be placed in certain locations, this one for cave chambers in certain locations. Each player will get a hand of 5 cards, and then we start drafting. That means each player selects one, and then once everybody's ready, you reveal it and you place it in one of the 4 slots for the current round. So next to that cardboard piece at the beginning of the game in round 1. And then it's card drafting, so you pass them to the next player and you receive another hand of cards. You select one, pass it, and reveal and receive another hand of cards, and so on and so forth until only one is, you place 4, 1 is left, that one is discarded. Once we have done that, we're in the phase where we're going to start collecting money and building our improvements. Each player will collect the money that is visible on their in their dungeon. So for example, 3, 5, and 7, I collect that money, plus 1 extra coin for each treasure chest that is visible. So right now, this round I will collect 8 coins. Suppose I am green, and I mark how much money I'm making on that display there, like so. And every player will mark how much money they made. Suppose that that's how much money people made. Once we know how much money people have made from their dungeon for that round, it's time to start spending it. The wealthiest player will always be the next player to spend money. So for example, right now, blue will go. To buy improvements, you look at these cards, the market cards. And so by themselves, they look like this. And then you have three types of tokens. Round, oval, not exactly, but this shape here, and traps. And simply you will draw these at the beginning of a round, and you will populate them with random tiles from the corresponding shape. So then again, we said the wealthiest player is gonna spend some money. They can choose one of the zones on the market cards. Each is divided into two, and they can spend the corresponding amount of money to collect all of the tokens. I can spend 5 to collect that trap. I could spend 6 to collect those 2 tokens. And suppose that I am indeed the blue player. I collect this one and I place it somewhere on my dungeon. And I just turned from green to blue. And I place it in my dungeon anywhere where there is an empty spot, for example, there. You also spend that money, right? And so say blue has spent 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's time for blue again, double dipping. Because blue is still the wealthiest player. Now blue, for example, buys these 2 tokens for 6, and so now blue goes there. Now yellow and green are in the same spot, and that's when we look at the priority track. These tokens here indicate priority. They break ties from left to right, left being stronger than the right, and so on and so forth. So with that tie between yellow and green, then yellow will go first. Yellow spends some money, for example, they go there. Now green goes, they spend some money, and they go here, for example. So you continue to spend until you have no money left, or until you decide to pass. Suppose that red doesn't want to buy anything, red decides to pass. Then red spends all of their money. They get on the leftmost available priority space for the next round. They get that advantage of breaking ties. And also, this is super important, they get to collect one of these challenge cards. They will be available at the end of round 1, round 2, and round 3. Each player will collect one. It's just that the sooner you pass, giving up therefore the biggest amount of money available at that time, the better options you have. And so, for example, red decides that they want to collect this card. Again, you'll collect a challenge card at the end of round 1, round 2, and round 3. So at the end of the game, you will have 3 of these challenge cards. And all they do, reputation means victory points in this game, they give you different ways of scoring. And they're pretty self-explanatory for the most part. A couple of things, for example, a single path means no branching, so you'll need to identify a single path to count scoring for that one. And so there are a lot of different ways of scoring. And it's really neat because multiple players may be going for the same scoring thing. But this is the general idea, my friends. We play 4 rounds. Each time, again, you'll get 4 cards. When you start building your second level, as you can see, covers the money areas of the level before, but giving you more things, plus the engine building of maybe there are treasure chests there. Maybe I even added some. So right now I'll be scoring 6, 7, 11, 12, 13 coins. We place the 4 cards using card drafting. We collect the money. We use the money to buy improvements. And at some point we give up whatever money we have left to get in a good position on the priority track. And that's the idea. We play like this for 4 rounds, at the end of which we have final scoring. As I said, a lot of ways of scoring points, point salad for sure, which I'm not saying as a negative in any way. Final priority, depending on where you are on the priority track. You're gonna score 9, 6, or 3 points if you're first, second, or third on the priority track. Gold card, there's a gold card there visible for everybody, placed at the beginning of the game from a set of gold cards, and that will change, of course, what everybody is trying to achieve and potentially score. And these are, as you can see, relative to what the other players have done. So you may want to have a quick look at the other dungeons and get a sense of how many goblins they have, how many pairs of identical traps, how many treasure chests, and so on and so forth. Challenge cards, those are the ones that you collect at the end of a round when you give up your money and pass, as I said. Chamber reputation, simply there will be stars in your dungeon that will give you or lose you points, they may be negative. Blueprint, bet you forgot about this one because there was a lot going on. Again, we collect money from that, depending how many features we matched. And finally, dungeon paths. Well, I made the dungeon randomly, so that's my excuse that this would be a terrible dungeon path. Because you're gonna score points for how far the tunnel, the path from the entrance goes, and also how far the path coming from the exit goes. Basically 1 point per chamber connected to the entrance, 1 point per chamber connected to the exit, 2 points per if you're able to connect them. And it's possible also one of the tiles, the tiles usually go in the areas, in the 4 areas of a chamber, with the exception of this one, the secret passage, that would connect there, and that has extended my path a little bit. Also a little bit of magic reshuffling, which totally would not be legal. Now I have a path of 3 there, and maybe I can even extend it more. So, collect points from all of these sources, and the player with the highest score wins the game. I like this game. I like this game quite a bit. It combines some of my favorite mechanics. I like tiling, I like forming patterns. It's engine building, but not overwhelmingly so. Sometimes engine buildings, they turn into engine operating. You're just collecting a lot of stuff every turn, things you have to do a lot of things based on those. Here, well, I can get some money and that during the game in terms of resources I'm collecting. And of course, I'm trying to create patterns that will allow me to score, and card drafting that is always fun and interesting, and of course it's very intuitive. You can teach it to anybody and everybody. And so it's a game that is very light from the point of view of the mechanics, but gets a lot deeper when it comes to actually trying to score as well as you can in as many categories as you can. It's a point salad done right, in my opinion, because again, you won't be able to score well in all categories unless you're my friend Bob. I don't know how the heck he does it, but he does it. But unless you're him, you're probably gonna be more like myself and other human persons that attend my game night, and you're gonna have to do your best and maybe really specialize in 1 or 2 and try to do not terribly on all the other ones. And I like that. I like that. Your range of opportunities, of course, shrinks over time. If anything, maybe the 4th round is a little more anticlimactic because by then you don't get any challenge cards. You're committed to what you're going to score. And maybe you're looking for that one special card that will allow you to score a lot of points. In particular, if you're able to connect the entrance with the exit, that is very good. Then there may be a lot of tiles that will score you 2 points each. Very nice. But you need to be able to get the right card. And I speak from experience. If anything, indeed, from the point of view of gameplay, my one possible doubt that I have is that I wonder if there is a little too much luck, or if luck can play a role that is a little too much in the last round. If you don't get a card that lets you seal a certain combo, you may lose a ton of points or score a ton of points if you get it. And in Sushi Go, if I don't get the card that gives me the most pudding, well, the game is light and simple, and that's okay. When you have a game with so much thinking and you're forming this pattern and trying to do well in all these categories, then not getting the right card at the end, that intrusion of randomness may feel a little bit annoying, and that's my only thing. I don't know, maybe a variant. The last round, just play with hands of 6 cards. If you find that to be a problem, then 2 will be discarded at the end. Players are more likely to be able to complete some combos. Just an idea. But overall, I really like it. I really like it. I also like the vibes, so to speak. My friend Bob, he had a different complaint, which was like, hey, but you can't do hate drafting here. Meaning, look at what other people have and immediately say, I'm going to get this card just so that you don't get it. That's Bob. We love him. But I prefer a game that is competitive but not too confrontational. I know I played a lot of war games in my day, but I still prefer a game that is not too confrontational. No, I don't want to do hate drafting. I want to do my best in my little domain, and they'll see if you are the master of your own domain and how well you did. And the game feels precisely like a parallel race towards different objectives or some converging objectives, in which you don't attack each other. At the very worst, you are stealing opportunity. For example, if you take priority first, you pass first, you get a challenge card that I really want, chances are that the opponent is not doing that just to take it from me, but because they're also been building something similar. There's too much going on in every player's dungeon, especially if you're playing with 4 or 5 players, which is how we played it, for people to micromanage everybody and make sure that card not only does it help me but also hurts you that way. You can do that a little bit, but that's going to drive your main strategy to remove cards so other people don't have them. You're probably not going to be able to do very well in your own little domain. So I like the fact that it's competitive but not confrontational. It feels again almost like a multiplayer solo. I know that the sooner I get priority, the better chances I'll get, but I don't go and micromanage all the decisions they may play into when you're gonna pass or when you're gonna pass or when you're gonna pass. So overall, you have a nice game with strategy, with great components, simple rules, light engine, lots of interesting decisions. I like the art, I like the theme. Again, if anything, I have some maybe reservations about the role of luck in the final parts of the game once you're committed to a certain strategy, and there isn't really a lot of room there. With all of this in mind, I can tell you that I did enjoy Stonespine Architects, and I look forward to playing it more in the future.